When I was a kid, I loved Diablo II. With the recent rumor now turned announcement of Diablo II Remastered, I decided to play Diablo II again for old time's sake. And this time, I was going to beat it on the hardest difficulty, Hell. I could never get past Act 1 Nightmare when I was a kid, so it's finally time to avenge myself. And not only that, I'm going to one-up you again, and I'm also going to pay attention to what's actually going on in the story. Since, I mean, really, who even does that? I mean, you walk forward, you swinging your sword, you're killing demons. That's Diablo 2. That's always how it's been to me, you know? Starting from the opening cutscene, we see a hooded figure walk into a room with an old man, accompanied by the sounds of wails and screams in what appears to be an asylum sort of scene. From a game titled Diablo, I guess you really wouldn't expect much different, and yet here we are. The hooded figure approaches the man and addresses him as Marius.
So, Marius, at last I find you.
In a daze, Marius sees the hooded man as an angelic figure and calls him Tyrael, exclaiming that he should have known he would have been traveling in disguise. Nearly breaking down, Marius asks Tyrael for forgiveness, saying that it wasn't his fault. Now, what wasn't your fault, Marius? Been to one too many brothels, eh? You gotta remember, Jesus is watching you. Tyrael then responds, asking Marius how it wasn't his fault, and without hesitation, Marius says,
The Wanderer. Yes, it was the Wanderer.
We then flash back to a scene of Marius when he was a much younger man, but to be honest, he doesn't look that much better. Understandably so, as he had just fled a nearby town tavern after being attacked by a group of demons in the citadel he was attending. In an attempt to suppress the terrible memories and nightmares of the atrocities he had just witnessed, he was doing his best to stay awake and was also getting high AF on some opium. All was at least fine until a hooded man stumbled in, barely strong enough to walk to his seat, let alone carry his own sword. Suddenly, the hooded man began to shake uncontrollably and violently until a horde of monsters were summoned to the tavern. As you can imagine, pretty much everyone there was slaughtered, with Marius being the only survivor of the attack. Completely broken with nothing but his life and his poor luck, Marius decided to accompany the hooded man, who we will now know going forward as the Wanderer. Together they headed east, but Marius never asked the purpose of their destination.
Why did I follow him? I don't know. Why do things happen as they do in dreams? All I know is that when he beckoned, I had to follow him. And from that moment, we traveled together east, always into the east.
So you might be asking yourself, where do we fit into this story? Well, we heard a rumor of the courageous duo Nob and End and how they're causing quite the ruckus on their journey to the east. So we put it upon ourselves to trail them and potentially try and stop them. At the beginning of our journey, we find ourselves in a small town run by a group of rogues. Welcome to the Rogue Encampment. The rogues who run this town used to belong to the Rogue Monastery, until it was overrun by demons and the such after the Wanderer wandered through. Upon our arrival, we are immediately greeted by a traveling merchant named Wariv, who confirms the rumors about the two men traveling together, leaving great evil in their wake. Now it's up to us to investigate the situation and deal with whatever obstacles come in our way. So, there's a lot of people in the rogue encampment, but before we go over the rest of its inhabitants, let's just quickly grab our first quest from Akara, the High Priestess of the Sisterhood of the Sightless Eye. You know, I have a long title too. They call me Jet, Razor of Skeletons, and Granter of Puns. Allow me to demonstrate. Hey, Akara, have you ever tried to bone a skeleton?
Yes?
Yeah, this whole bit is awful, and I'm very sorry. The townsfolk don't exactly trust us yet, seeing as we just walked in. But Akara says that we can gain at least her trust if we head over to the Den of Evil, where there's a large group of creatures gathering that are planning to attack the rogue encampment. What does she want us to do there? Well, as you may have already guessed, we're going to go there and we're going to kill some stuff. Hooray! My talents are being put to good use for once, unlike real life where I'm using my 5-year education to make a video on it. Akara says the Den of Evil is located just outside the rogue encampment. So while we go looking for it, let's just see who our friends are in this friendly little town. We already know Warreeve and Akara, but to go into a bit more detail, Akara also does some other useful things. She'll heal us whenever we talk to her, give us quest advice, and she's also a merchant who will sell us potions, scrolls, and caster weapons. It'll be useful for us to check her inventory every now and then and see if she has anything useful for a necromancer. Kasia is the commander of the rogues in the rogue encampment. She'll give us a quest later, but her main purpose here is to hire out mercenary rogues once we gain her trust. They can be very useful allies, especially if you're in single player. However, we have Asab. He's technically from Act 2, but he's also been my great companion since we first met on normal difficulty, and I ain't giving up my boy now. Geed is also a traveling merchant, much like Warreeve. However, his purpose here is mainly gambling. You can gamble your money for random roll on an item, which, from my experience, not really worth it unless you max out your cash stack and you got nothing left to spend your money on. Mr. Moneybags, brag about it. Lastly, there's Charcy. There was always something I fancied about Charcy when I was a kid. But honestly, to this day, I'm still not really sure why. Anyway, Charcy's the blacksmith in town and will sell you weapons and armor and repair your gear for a small fee. She will also have a quest for us later, but that's not for quite some time. Anyways, now that we've gotten that out of the way, we finally make our way to the Den of Evil, which was not just outside of town, by the way. I pretty much killed everything in the Cold Plains to find this place. It was literally in the last place I looked, of course.
I sense death within this place.
Speaking of killing, since it is our goal to murder everything in here, let's quickly go over some of the combat in Diablo 2. Combat is very, very straightforward. You have two different skills you can use at any time, bound to left or right click. You can then cycle your abilities on your right click using F keys or by using the scroll wheel to abilities that you have bound. You can get these abilities through the skill tree, putting points into them as you level up. Specializing in skills is usually your best bet at survival, as having a few strong skills is much better than many weak ones, a mistake I definitely made as a kid. You also have stat points that you gain each level, but I found they weren't really very relevant for my build personally. I'll go over them very quickly. Strength allows you to wear heavier armor, wield larger weapons, and increases your base damage for melee. While dexterity allows you to wield more dexterous weapons, and also increases your chance to hit. Vitality increases your total HP pool, and also your run energy. And then energy, which is not your run energy, increases your MP pool. For most skills in the game, they will require MP to cast, including stronger melee skills. But some skills require other costs, such as maybe the sacrifice of HP, for example. Finally, we have our potions. The bigger the belt, the more potions you can carry. You can organize them however you like, and you can quickly use them by pressing 1 to 4 on your keyboard. You can also store extra potions in your inventory and quickly put them on your belt at any time.
Is that enough to earn the rogue's trust?
Once we clear out the cave and return to Akara, she thanks us and says that we have gained her trust and even restored her faith in humanity. Isn't that just the sweetest thing you ever heard? I say, as I'm covered in blood, surrounded by my army of skeleton soldiers. Akara also rewards us with a skill point of our choice, which on hell difficulty at this high level is hella dope, let me tell you. And with that, that is Quest 1 complete. After we finished speaking with Akara, we were approached by Kasia, who has some news to tell us. She says that our scouts have reported an abomination in the monastery graveyard. Bloodraven, who was once one of the rogue captains in the battle against Diablo at Tristram, has become corrupted by Andariel, one of the lesser evils, who has been wreaking havoc in this area. To summarize the hierarchy of evils very quickly, they are made up of the great evils, split into the 3 prime evils, and the 4 lesser evils, so there's a lot of evil going on around here. The 3 prime evils are Diablo, the Lord of Terror, Mephisto, Lord of Hatred, and Baal, Lord of Destruction, while the 4 lesser evils are Duriel, the Lord of Pain, Andariel, the Maiden of Anguish, Belial, the Lord of Lies, and Asmodan, the Lord of Sin. It is important to not underestimate the lesser evils despite their titles. In the past, the 4 lesser evils sealed away the 3 prime evils in the sanctuary when they believed the 3 prime evils wanted to stop the war against heaven. This was known as the Dark Exile. I could go into it more, but really, there's a lady in a graveyard who we gotta slay, so let's just move on. After wandering through the cold plains, we finally make our way to the burial ground where Bloodraven awaits our arrival.
Join my army of the dead.
Listen, lady, someone's gonna join an army of the dead. It's probably not gonna be me. I'm gonna be honest though, this fight was really worrying. Bloodraven is the first mini-boss on hard difficulty, and she killed tons of my skeletons, made me drink tons of potions, and worst of all, she killed my boy, Asab, almost immediately. This woman was going to pay. After a very long and cumbersome battle, Bloodraven was finally defeated.
I can't carry anymore.
When we return to Kasia, she says she can hardly believe that we took down Bloodraven. Thanks for having faith in me, lady. Really fills a guy with confidence. Regardless, Kasia trusts us now, and basically so does everyone else in the rogue encampment. This also means, like I mentioned earlier, that Kasia will hire out rogues on our journey if we so choose. Finishing off the conversation, completes Quest 2.
It is clear that we are facing an evil difficult to comprehend, let alone combat.
Akara wishes to speak with us again now that she knows how sick we are and she has another quest for us. Akara believes that we need the help of a horadric sage, schooled in arcane history and lore, in order to gain insight into the evils that we'll be up against. We might have the strength to take them down, but the power of knowledge would set our victory in stone. Akara has a certain sage in mind, and that man she's referring to is none other than Deckard Cain.
My name's Deckard Cain, and I come from Tristram. If you're looking for Diablo, then you just missed him.
The plan is to travel to Tristram where he's being held captive, but Tristram is an extremely long distance away from the rogue encampment, so to our dismay, it's most likely that Cain will be dead by the time we got there. Thankfully, there's a really convenient portal that can lead us there instantly. Fantastic, I exclaim as Akara hands me a scroll that opens the portal and teleports me straight there. Haha, just kidding, this is what actually happened. First, we needed to find the Tree of Inifis located in the Dark Wood. The Tree of Inifis holds some special magical properties, one of which will help us open the portal to Tristram. After finding the tree, we killed its protector, Treehead the Woodfist, yes, that is his actual name, and then grabbed some of the tree's bark and brought it back to Akara.
This tree shines with inner spirits.
Akara was able to transcribe some of the magic embedded in the bark, giving us a combination that would allow us to use the Cairn Stones. The Cairn Stones are a circle of stones located in the stony field. When the glyphs on the Cairn Stones are activated in the correct order, a portal will open, very conveniently leading us to the place where we need to go. It's unclear if this portal was built to lead to Tristram because of Tristram's relevance to Diablo 1, or if it just leads you to where you need to go. After finding the stones and slaying everything in sight, we punched in the combo written on the bark, and then lo and behold, the portal opened, leading to Tristram. This had to have been the most convenient inconvenience of my gaming career, honestly. Like, hey, you need to go to Tristram, but it's too far. But don't worry, because there's a portal that can get you right there. But you need this tree because the bark will tell me the combination of the rune stones. And like, all right, lady, whatever you say, just tell me where I need to go. Anyway, we find ourselves in Tristram, and we do what we do best and clear out all the monsters there and save Deckard Cain, who's just kind of strung up in a cage for some reason. Like, they could have killed him easily, but maybe they were questioning him? It's pretty unclear, but overall unimportant to us. So, after saving Deckard Cain, he returns to town and is an extremely useful NPC. He will be our companion for the remainder of the game, giving us multiple quests, quest advice if we need it, and will also identify any items we have in our inventory free of charge. When we talk to Cain in town, he says that our greatest fears have come to pass and that Diablo has once again been set loose upon the world. Gee, who would have guessed that? Cain gives us a little history informing us that Diablo was slain beneath Tristram by the hero from Diablo 1. However, after some weeks passed after slaying Diablo, the hero began to change. He started keeping his distance from the townsfolk, becoming more and more depressed, waking in the night screaming always something about the East. One day he up and left Tristram, and then a few days later, the town was attacked by a horde of demons. Cain believed that the hero who originally slain Diablo is actually the Wanderer that passed through the rogue monastery before it was attacked, and that Diablo had taken control of the hero who had slain him. It is now more important than ever that we stop the Wanderer and Marius from going any further. For now, finishing the conversation with Cain is the end to Quest 3. So I know the world is in dire peril and everything, but while we were out searching for Cain, we came across a random book that told us about the Forgotten Tower in the Black Marsh. The book told us the Forgotten Tower is said to hold great treasure, and well, I like treasure, so you bet your ass we're going in there.
This place reeks of death.
This quest was pretty straightforward, as all we really had to do was travel through the dungeon and get to the end. The treasure is guarded by an undead demon known as the Countess. Seeing as this quest is really short, let's just go over a little bit of lore for the Countess, since in-game she is just a reskinned Darkstalker enemy. The Countess was once the ruler of the great castle that we find ourselves in. While not known to be fact, it was rumored that in order to keep her youth, the Countess bathed in the blood of 100 virgins. Not exactly something you want on your resume, as even in the world of Diablo, I'm assuming you'll get yourself put on someone's hit list. The Countess eventually met a terrible fate as she was buried alive, although we don't know exactly how or why. I mean, I have some suspicions, but you know. It was believed that her treasure was split up among the clergy, but that some of it remained in the tower to this day. And that's literally to this day, because we're just about to snatch it all up. Once the Countess is defeated, that's Quest 4 complete.
Treasure hunting. Treasure finding. Yes.
When we return to town after our treasure raid, Charcy needs our help. And as you know, I can't say no to a request from Charcy. She says that when everyone had to flee the monastery, she left behind the horadric malice, which is an enchanted smithing hammer. And if we can get it back for her, she can imbue our items with magical powers. Well, the monastery might be filled with hordes of demons, but I mean, Charcy asked us to get a hammer back, so what choice do we really have? After some searching, we finally come across the monastery, where I tried to make a really cool entrance, but my fast AF speed walking and near death kinda ruined that a little bit. After pushing our way through the monastery, down into the barracks, we find the smith guarding the horadric malice. Honestly, we take him out quite easily and just kinda grab the malice and leave.
All this for a hammer?
Hey, you watch your mouth. That's no ordinary hammer, that's Charcy's hammer. When we return to town, Charcy is grateful and says that she'll imbue any of our non-magical items with magical powers. Unfortunately, on Hell difficulty, those are pretty hard to come by, so for now we'll just have to say that's Quest 5 complete. Cain has now confirmed that it must be the demon queen Andariel, Maiden of Anguish, who has corrupted the rogue sisterhood and defiled the monastery. Cain goes over the history of the Dark Exile as I explained earlier. However, what I did not tell you was that the sanctuary where the three greater evils were banished to is the mortal realm itself. Ooh, got you there, didn't I? Cain goes on to say that the three greater evils caused untold anguish and suffering before they were bound within objects called soul stones. He fears now that the return of Andariel and Diablo means that the forces of hell are once again aligned with Diablo and the other greater evils, and that we must slay Andariel so that the demons can't use the rogue monastery as an outpost for hell's army. If they manage to succeed with their plans, the way east will be lost forever, and we will never be able to catch up to Marius and the Wanderer. Andariel's lair is located within the depths of the monastery catacombs, and so that's where we're headed next. It's a long journey through the monastery, past the jail, down through the catacombs, which, I'm gonna be honest, this is hella deep. It seems really unnecessary for a group of rogues to have all of this under their monastery, but I mean, who am I to judge, I guess? Once we're 4 levels deep into the catacombs, we finally made it to our destination. Andariel awaits us ahead. Who knows what this foul demon, the demon of anguish, will look like? Probably some sort of horrific, dreadful, nightmarish...
Yes! Yes!
I was only joking, of course I'm gonna kill her, sheesh. After a not super difficult boss fight, Andariel is slain, erupting into flames as her soul is sent back to hell.
Back to the hell that spawned you, Andariel.
Now that the lesser evil is no more, the rogues can rebuild and we're safe to travel east. All that's left is to talk to Orive and have him take us to our next destination, Lut Gholein. Hey, you made it to the end. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to Clemps, Jimmy, King K, and Woolly Versus, the 4 channels that made this video possible by giving me the inspiration to make it in the first place. Now I'm going to do the whole YouTube thing and say, if you like the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for part 2. These videos take a really long time to make, so if you're looking forward to part 2, please be patient. Stay safe out there, everyone. I hope to see you around.